his ways, to find out the secrets to life and to understand life, because Jesus has the key to life. When you read what Jesus was able to do, this is someone who has the key to life. Isn't that right? He epitomizes the perfection of what a human being can be, because remember, Jesus is 100% human. He's God incarnate, but 100% human. It's really hard for us to understand that. But Jesus faced all the same things that we face. All those struggles, all those storms, Jesus faced them. And Jesus said this, I've come that they may have life and have it to the full, or as another translation says, to have it more abundantly. Jesus doesn't offer a ticket to heaven or a certificate to say you're going to get there. He offers to teach us a new way of life. That's why we become new creations, when we come into relationship with Jesus. And Jesus spent 3 years teaching his disciples, or the 12 decibels, as we now know them to be. And he often asked them questions. And this was one of the questions that he asked them at one stage. Where is your faith? And he asked this question to them in the most dire circumstances. And Colin's choice of songs this morning are perfect for what I'm talking about. Because the circumstances he asked this question in was when the disciples and he had taken a boat journey on the Sea of Galilee, and it hit a storm. And Jesus was fast asleep in the back of the boat. I've spoken on this before. And in this dire circumstance, when the storm was so bad that these experienced fishermen who knew what the waters were like and were used to this, they were panicking. They cried for help to Jesus. And he got up. And he says, his first thing he says is, where is your faith? Where is your faith? Do you know something? Each one of us are being asked the same question. And we're being asked through our circumstances. The storms in our life, no matter how small, no matter how big, all of the circumstances in our life that we face are asking the same question to us. Where is your faith? Where is your faith? And if your circumstances seem bigger than you can cope, then the question feels all the more louder. Because in the middle of the storm, like the disciples would have to have shouted to Jesus to wake. And you can imagine in the middle of this loud, ferocious storm, Jesus would have to have raised his voice to say, where is your faith? Because in the storm, the question gets louder and more insistent. So, let me ask you this morning, where's your faith? What are you facing right now? What are you in the middle of? What circumstances right in front of you? What's staring you down right now? Because maybe you feel like this. Maybe you feel like a gunslinger in the Wild West. And the guy's he's a lot of meters away from you, and you know he's got an itchy trigger finger. And this circumstance is facing you down. Maybe it's on the horizon. Maybe you know it's coming towards you. Maybe you have that feeling in the pit of your stomach that you're going to have to face something. Maybe there's something you just got your head in the sand about because I don't want to look at it, but I know it's there. And maybe you feel like this is just like a Wild West shootout. And you feel intimidated, and you don't have the answer. And you're thinking, what am I going to do? Well, the question is, where's your faith? In the 11th chapter of the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, you're going to find a list of characters who are all talked about as, they're characters that we know of. The characters like Noah and Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Jacob and Esau and Joseph, Moses, Gideon, David, on and on it goes. If you've been on the Tuesday night Bible studies, you would have covered a lot of these characters. And in chapter 11 of Hebrews, it says that everything they achieved through faith. This is what we've been talking about this morning in our worship, and as Brian's been sharing, it's about faith. And this chapter starts with this statement. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So faith is a substance, and it's an evidence. It's tangible of what? Of something we cannot yet see. So here's a question. How can you have the evidence of something? The substance of something. How can you experience that if you can't yet see it? How can you have the substance of something you can't yet see? How can you have evidence of something you can't see? You have it by feeling it. That's what the substance is. You feel it. You may not see the answer yet, but you know the answer is there. And this is where faith is the substance and the evidence. And how do you feel it? How do you get to that place of feeling evidence of the unseen? Well, it starts in your mind. And this is the most powerful thing that you've been blessed with by God. And it's the one of the areas that we abuse the most. It's one of the areas of ourselves that we don't pay attention to the most. We just assume that we think, don't you? You never think about really what you're thinking a lot. You just have all these thoughts going on in your head. We never really pay attention to the reasons why we think some things. And most of us are abusing our own minds, and we're feeding our minds rubbish. We're putting up with thinking that's right, quite literally up the left. The Bible says this: do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, Romans 12 and verse 2. Basically, if you want to see your life transformed, you're the only one responsible for doing it. No one else has that responsibility. No one else can help you. The church can't help you. Your pastor can't help you. Your wife, your husband can't help you. Your mom or your dad or your family can't help you with this. Your local politician definitely won't be able to help you. TV's not going to help. Books and magazines are not going to help. And not even the Bible can help you with this. Because the best that all of these can give you is advice. And whether you take the advice is up to you. And the best that all these things I've listed are going to give you is some form of temporary ease. But the true transformation comes from you, and you taking responsibility and me taking responsibility for my own mind. And not even God can help you without your permission, without your participation, without your faith. God cannot help you. In the Gospel of Mark in chapter 6, Jesus goes to his hometown to preach. And he preaches, and with every other place that he's been to, he goes to pray for people and to see them healed. But look at what happens. Mark 6. This is what they say? Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? Aren't his sisters here with us? And they took offense at him. And he, being Jesus, could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few people and heal them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. Jesus couldn't see people healed because of their lack of faith. I want you to notice two things. He was amazed at their lack of faith, and before that, they took offense at him. And why did they take offense at him? Well, the offense was based on how they were perceiving him. So they were looking at Jesus, and all they could see, well, he's a little guy who's running about the streets. So we saw him run about like in shorts, playing with our kids. This guy who's up here in front of the synagogue right now, he used to hang out with all our kids. Who's he to tell us what to do? Who's he to tell us that he knows more than what our scribes and Pharisees know? So they took the evidence of their eyes, and they took offense that Jesus claiming to be more, claiming that he knew more. It's all to do with perception based on past experiences. All of our past experiences are coloring how we're perceiving life right now. Okay? And so we think that we have evidence of how things should be based on our own experiences. But that's not walking by faith. That's what the Bible calls walking by sight. When the Bible calls us to do the opposite. This is what the Bible says. Live by faith and not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5 and verse 7. And these people were living by sight. And if you live by sight alone, then you starve your faith. Because your diet will be the diet of experience, and you will let experience tell you the way things are. And your faith will diminish. So are we feeding our faith, or are we starving it? What state is your faith in? Where is your faith this morning? Remember, it's a substance, and it's an evidence of the unseen. The answer you need, the one that you don't have yet, is unseen. It's not here. You know you need an answer to the circumstance you face. You don't have that answer in front of you. So it's not here yet. But if you can see it in your mind, if you can believe that it's already there, then that's living by faith. Because those who are filled with faith already know the answer's there. It may not, all evidence may be to the contrary. Everything else may be saying no. But those who live by faith say yes. So the Bible says, let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I'm rich. Those who live by faith never live in a place of want. Psalm 23 says, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not what? Want. And what happens when you say you want something? You're admitting to yourself you don't have it. Where the faith says, I do have it. So if we live in a place of want, the Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want. When the Lord's your shepherd, you begin to live truly in a place of not wanting anything because you know you already have everything you need through Jesus. He knows what you need. So you never live in a place of want. Living in a place of want just, do you know something? We had to clear out 2 rooms to get floors repaired upstairs. And honestly, the amount of rubbish we took out of those rooms to put in the garage. I went down to the dump to get rid of all that stuff and I had a chat to one of the guys down there. And he'd just been watching, the Blue Planet and watching icebergs melt, in the polar caps. And he was all doom and gloom. He said, oh, we're all going down the toilet. He says, we're all going to drown soon. And he says, and I know why. He says, because I work here and the amount of rubbish we throw out. Now, why are we throwing out so much rubbish? Because we keep wanting things. We have like insatiable desire for things and want. The Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want. We look for things, we look for answers in little gadgets and gizmos and little trinkets. Our answers aren't there. Our answers are with God at deeper levels. Do you know something? Your thoughts are affecting your faith right now. And your thoughts are affecting your faith every day. Cannot stress this enough. The most important thing inside of you is your glorious mind that God has given you. And the answers will be found there when we begin to use our minds right. What are your regular thoughts like? Are they positive or are they negative? Watch for signs inside yourself and they will tell you where your faith is. Do you always think the worst case scenario? Oh, I'm a bit like this. I'm preaching to myself here. Do you complain a lot? Do you find you try and take a step back and listen to yourself this week and find, do I whinge a lot? And do I justify that whinging? I need to get it off the chest. Are you always doom and gloom? When my dad was dying, he turned to all of us sitting around his bed and he went, want no doom and gloom. And as far as I'm concerned, he went out in a blaze of glory. We felt fine. He made us feel fine. But are we doom and gloom? Do people think about leaving the room when we come in? Do people sort of edge away from us, Do you notice? Maybe your friendship circle is dropping because maybe you just complain a lot. Now, I'm all for being realistic. But we can't be naive or careless. But if we're constantly on the gloomy side of things, then something, our minds need renewed. What diet are you on? We all should know by now, if we keep living on a diet, who's hungry now? Doesn't it look good? Yeah, it does, actually. I was going through all these images and going, I'm really hungry now. If we live on a diet of this is okay occasionally, isn't it? But we live on a diet like this, what's going to happen? We're going to slow down. We're going to feel ill. Our bodies are going to react. Do you know your body reacts to everything you're putting into it? If you want your body to be better, you put good fuel in. Well, what are you putting into your mind? What am I putting into my mind? What am I feeding myself with? Because even more so than the body reacting to food, our bodies are reacting to our thoughts. Our thoughts are shaping us, who we believe we are. Like if you keep thinking to yourself all the time, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm I'm so tired. Chances are you're going to be tired. You'll convince yourself you're tired. Ever heard of the placebo effect? Yeah, because it works because thoughts are powerful things. Doctors know about this. Stop giving yourself a narrative in your head that you're less than the glorious creation that God has made you to be. Soaps and magazines that only deal in drama, news reports that only deal in fear, hanging around with people who only ever complain or run other people down. All of this is negative stuff you want to take out of your mental diet. It's okay to keep your eye on the news. Don't live by the news. They design it to make you feel bad. Because look at newspapers, watch television programs, drama sells. We love it. It's a form of gossip. But it's telling us false truths of how life can be. And we live by these things, negativity and drama. And just like constantly eating fast food, it slows us down and it suffocates our faith. Your mind really is the powerhouse that drives you. This is shaping your faith. So feed it with good things. It's why the Apostle Paul wrote in Philippians, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. You are the only gatekeeper for your mind. You cannot give this responsibility to anybody else. You can't blame the government. You can't blame the TV shows. You can't blame the channels. You can't blame publishers. You can't blame your friends. You can't blame your parents. You can't blame anybody. You're the only one responsible for being the gatekeeper of your mind. I am the only one responsible for my mind. I have a choice what I'm going to read. I have a choice what I'm going to watch. I have a choice to discern whether something is good or bad for me. When was the last time you read something that challenged your thinking in a new way, that challenged you to think better? When was the last time you read something that was about looking to lift you to a new level? When was the last time you read the Bible? It's all so techy nowadays. We don't use physical books as much. I think we forget about the Bible. You know, it's on my phone, but I never go to it. It's on my iPad, but I forget it's there. What are we feeding our minds? You and you alone have the power to see your life transformed. Do you want your life transformed? Don't you answer that now? Would you ask yourself that? Do you feel your life is where it should be? If you don't feel it's where it should be, if you feel, and let me tell you something, if you're a normal person, you should be feeling the call to be better, because that's how we're designed. God has designed us for progress. God has designed us for transformation, daily transformation, monthly transformation, yearly transformation. If you're the same as you were this time last year, then you have missed something. Because we're designed to grow. It's a journey the Bible describes as a journey from glory to glory, this journey upwards, towards God. If you want to know where your faith is, look at your circumstances. Look at what's in your life right now. That'll tell you where your faith is. What circumstances are you facing? What questions are you being asked? What solution do you need? If we're facing the same things over and over, then we haven't grown. We haven't progressed. Life is engineered in such a way that it will ask us questions. And if we're continually getting asked the same question, then we have not progressed. We will get asked questions. We will face difficult circumstances. But it's only in difficult circumstances that we get asked the question where our faith is. And the Bible says, that we should actually test ourselves to see if we are in the faith. And so that never be afraid of the storm. In fact, walk into it, because this is testing your faith. And God is with you. We've sung about it already. Jesus is with us. God is with us. So don't be afraid of the storm. You can be unhappy in the storm, but don't let the storm make you fearful. Realize that it's asking the question, where's your faith in this? God's saying, let's grow. Let's grow in this. If you're getting asked the same question over and over again, then don't beat yourself up. But realize there's something to learn that we haven't yet learned. But when we learn it, we progress. So the questions keep coming. And again until we can stand like Jesus did in the storm he was in. So we can stand with assurance and believe that we will see the storm through. That we can see it cease. But you may be feeling that you're not up to it. You may be feeling that you've been in storms and they keep coming and you don't feel you're up to it. Then change your mental diet. Change what you're training yourself in your mind. Encourage yourself in your faith. The Bible tells us to do that. But just realize something as you begin to change your mental diet. Maybe some of you this morning are thinking, I need to do what Andy's talking about. I need to look at some of the things and change the habits of the things that I watch, the habits of the things that I read. I never read newspapers. I used to buy a newspaper when I was in sales, buy a newspaper every day, have my lunch, sit and read the newspaper. Then I realized, what is the point? I mean, stuff's going to happen anyway. Why should I worry about it? And I don't want to know what celebrity has picked their nose in whatever event. It's not going to change my life. I don't care who's going out with who, who's not going out with who, who's wearing what. I don't care. The football players are all right. That just annoyed me as well if we got beat. So I just thought, I just don't really watch the news. I'm aware of it. I don't go out of my way to watch it. I don't read newspapers. I don't read magazines. Occasionally we'll read a movie magazine because I like movies. But that's it. I spend my time reading in order to build myself up, to challenge my thinking. So change your mental diet. If you feel right now, my faith is pretty low, begin to change. But realize something. Just as your body takes time to react to a physical diet, then your mentality takes time to change to a mental diet. And just like it's all about sowing and reaping, just like it takes time for a seed, and when you plant it, for that seed to grow, you need to give it time. It's not going to happen overnight. Your faith isn't suddenly going to. One of the big mistakes I think that I think new believers or believers in general have is that they have a really great church service. So we have this really great worship service, and we have maybe we hear a speaker at the front who really challenges us, and we feel our faith grow. Right? Well, mostly that's going to dissipate. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. So it's not permanent. In order to make it more permanent, you don't go to the gym one week and think, I feel so great now. Because if you stop going, you begin to revert back, to your default. And our default is essentially negative. So we've got to keep working at it. We've got to keep working at it and know that it's going to take time to grow. It's going to take time for my body to change. And so it's going to take time for my mind to change, but I've got to look at the diet for both. Is your life negative? Or do you feel your faith is strong? Do you feel as if your faith is weak? Or do you feel that actually it's growing? If you feel your faith is weak, you're only experiencing the harvest of previous thoughts. You're only reaping the harvest of careless thinking. If I feel that my faith is at a low point, I'm only reaping the harvest of careless thinking. So I need to change my thinking, but realize and give myself grace to realize that just because I changed my thinking today doesn't mean that immediately tomorrow everything's going to be better. There's going to be a process of growth. And so you've got to keep working. You've got to keep feeding. You've got to keep watering the good faith inside of you. I'm going to give you just this. Here's a test. This might help you, give you some kind of a baseline at the minute for where your faith is. You ready for this? You're going to read this statement that Jesus made. And you are, in your gut, you're going to react to this. I want you to pay attention to how you react to it. Okay? It's this. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. And right now, I would say most of us are kind of going, yeah, I kind of read it and yeah. Who's gone, yes, that's it? Very few. It's an emphatic statement. There is no but, there is no maybe, there's no sort of, the door will open. Sort of, you maybe might receive. It's an emphatic will. It's an emphatic statement. But in that emphatic statement greets us right now and challenges us in our faith because our guts are probably telling us, I don't actually believe this. If you're honest with yourself, you don't believe it. But we all play the game, don't we? Yes, Pastor, I believe it. Oh, yeah. But really, if we all believed it, our lives would have transformed. Isn't that right? So the issue really is how to ask, how to seek, and how to knock. And our past experiences are probably going, yeah, but I tried this once. Right now, but you may be thinking, I tried this, but it all depends on, but my experience tells me, people, get your butts out of here. The butts don't cut it. Your butt doesn't cut it. Say goodbye to your butts. Bring the band up. Trust God. This is a wonderful life. I mean, this really is a wonderful life. It's a tremendous, amazing gift that God has given us. And in this life, we're invited to experience God in new ways. And we're invited to test our faith. The test of your faith is not how often you go to church. But as Brian so accurately said, and pay attention to this, it's if you're not going to church regularly, you're not going to hear someone stand in front of you and remind you and encourage you and point you in the right direction and give you that little bit of lift that you maybe need to see you through. But church, coming to church is not an evidence of where you are in your faith. How you are overcoming circumstances is an evidence of where you are in your faith. Because faith is a practical thing. And the book of Revelation says the crown of gold is given to those who overcome. And it's about testing. It's about trying. It's about, you're praying for something and nothing's happening. Well, ask yourself, how am I praying? Am I believing? Because Jesus couldn't heal people because they didn't believe. They didn't have faith. And one of the things that we get so offended with, and I find this in experience that Christians get so offended with, is if you say to them, well, maybe your faith isn't enough. You go, oh, don't dare. Oh. People go, don't you dare. I believe in God. That's not faith. Making a mental agreement in your own self to say, yes, I believe in God. I believe in God, but I know my faith needs to grow. And I know that there are things I'm facing right now in my work and in business opportunities where I know my faith needs to grow. Well, Brian, I know you won't mind me saying this. When we met together and you're sitting in the fruit. You're sitting in the fruit of mustard seed faith, and that's what Jesus said is all we need. We had a meeting and we figured out how much money we needed in order to transform this place. from the back to the front, how much money we needed for all the gear and everything. And it was around, and we wrote a figure down of £50,000. Now listen, we don't have that. And Brian just said, well, and if you want to believe for that, go ahead. I don't have the faith for that. That is honest. That is better than somebody saying, kind of going, something, oh, I can believe for that. Amen, brother. And with it, because the one thing that actually works against us is a disparity between here and here, between our minds and our spirits. The better place is to acknowledge where you are. God answered the prayer. And it was a prayer that to be honest, we prayed with a mustard seed of faith. But God answers a real desire. And when we throw ourselves to the place where I have no answer, and this is what we did didn't know where it was coming from. And I'm going to finish with this. If you're praying for a solution, stop trying to figure out what the solution is. Stop trying to figure out where the solution is going to come from, because God has ways that you do not even know of. God has ways you can't even imagine. And all we have to do is not put a criteria on how the answer is going to come, not try and have an expectation of how we're going to receive it, not look out and kind of go, I'm expecting this, and it comes this way and goes right past us because we're too busy doing that. It's just believe we have the answer and work on the feeling. You know that feeling of peace that you get in a storm? That's the substance. That's the evidence. Work on that. Will you work on that? God has great things for you. Don't be afraid. The gunslinger in front of you, he's there just to help you grow. Let's worship.